In this video, we're going to take a look on how to teach the flutter kick used commonly for front crawl. Now, the flutter kick is probably one of the easier kicks to teach. However, some kids will have a hard time learning the flutter kick, especially if they spent a lot of time wearing a life jacket when they were growing up. There are two parts to the flutter kick. Let's take a look. The first part is when the leg is extended and the knee bends, bringing the foot close to the surface of the water, and sometimes even out of the water, breaking the surface. The second part is when the foot kicks the water down, often creating a small splash if your foot is raised out of the water. When you do this alternating left foot, right foot, you'll see the flutter kick. Now, it's important for the students to learn that the part of the kick that makes you go somewhere and propels you forward is the downbeat of the kick. Have your students practice by bracketing themselves against the wall, meaning one hand is on deck and the other is under the water. That way they can practice flutter kicking with their hips at the surface, which is good posture for kicking. Then give your student a kickboard to practice with, and there's two ways to practice the flutter kick with the kickboard. One of the first ways is having the kids grab the top of the kickboard, keeping their head out of the water, and practicing the flutter kick. You may want to use the term splashy kicks as a keyword, so that way students know if they're doing it correctly. Make sure when the student is holding the kickboard with their head out of the water, they try to keep their bottoms up. Otherwise, their feet sink and they have a hard time kicking. The second way they can hold a kickboard is in front of them with their head in the water. Students who practice this way do have good form when they're kicking. However, if your student likes to breathe a lot when they're kicking, this throws their body position out of whack. You may want to just have them practice holding the front of the kickboard with their head above the water and practice kicking with their hips up near the surface. Let's take a look at a few of the common mistakes people make when trying to learn the flutter kick. The first most common mistake is when the student, instead of relying on the downbeat of the kick to propel themselves forward, rely on the upbeat, and it looks like they're running in the water. This is often a result of wearing a life jacket when the student was 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, and the best way to fix this problem is to use a kickboard and practice on the downbeat of the kick. Another common mistake is if the student doesn't bend the knees. Now, in teaching, sometimes us teachers, we use the word straight legs in order to get the students to stretch their legs back. But once again, sometimes they take that too literally and they actually kick without bending their knees, and they look like a robot or Frankenstein kicking through the water. Have your student practice kicking on the wall while bracketing with a slight bend in their knees, so that way they can focus on the downbeat of the kick. Well, I hope that progression helped. Just remember, start against the wall. Then move on to using a kickboard, and then eventually have them kick in a streamlined position with their head in the water, taking a side breath every time they need to breathe. All right, good luck.